rocker cover heat shield to protect it from the manifold. We've got a cam sensor heat shield. So if you look in there, there is no lumps or blemishes. The elbow now is also all nice and gasket matched. So now what we've got to do is we've got to do the rectifying maneuver. So unfortunately I had to completely bust the release ring. What is good, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Evo 5 build. Now, we're kicking off this week's episode with another haul of Evo parts from JD Customs in America. Now, you know what that means. That means titanium. So let me show you what I've got and we'll go ahead and get them fitted. So in this bag, we have a rocker cover heat shield to protect it from the manifold. We've got a cam sensor heat shield. We've got strut tower mounting hardware, and we've also got an engine mount nuts. So just a little bit of an order from JD Customs, but it's going to look awesome. So without further ado, let's get it on the engine so that it's matching with my JDC coil and plug kit. Okay, so the manifold is now all fully ported, cleaned. It just needs to be painted because in a few places the paint's gone a bit funny, so we're going to mask it up and paint it again. But it is now all ported in the throttle body side. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to get this on camera for you because it's quite awkward, but we'll give it a go. So if you look in there, there is no lumps or blemishes or anything to disrupt the flow. It is all nice and smooth all the way down. Apart from that very end lump, which I couldn't actually get to because my my die grinder bits weren't big enough. So there's that. Let's chuck a couple of coats of paint on this and get it in the oven so that it all goes nice and wrinkly. The elbow now is also all nice and gasket matched. So if you pop the gasket on, it's perfectly matched all the way around. So that's going to massively improve flow straight off of the compressor cover. So this is also going to get painted. It's going to get painted purple to match the compressor cover. So let's get on that. So once the throttle body and intake manifold were given a fresh coat of wrinkle black, the entire setup could be reassembled, and that includes the brand new, fresh, as new 1050cc injectors, the painted fuel rail, and a few other miscellaneous items. The process of porting and painting the turbo was now complete, so all of its individual components can be reassembled into one complete part, and that is the nice Tomei Arms M7960. Okay, so over the last couple of days, the engine bay's bare again. Now you might want to ask why that is. Now if you were following last week's, well not last week's episode, the last episode of the Evo 5 build, you will recall that I said that I hadn't Loctite the flywheel bolts. Yes, I didn't Loctite the flywheel bolts. I used ARP ones, and on the manual, on the instructions, you have to Loctite them. So the engine and gearbox is back out, ready for the gearbox to come off. And that's where the complications started. Unfortunately, if you've ever done this with an Evo 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, or even the early models, they use a pull type clutch. Now that strikes fear into a lot of people that do these on the regular, because they're not fun to deal with. Now they use a little locking collar, which is like a spring-loaded clip basically, which clips into the release bearing when you push the clutch fork forward. Now what mine has done is it's done the typical Mitsubishi release bearing clip, and it has just bent the pins rather than popping and releasing the clip. So unfortunately, because I got frustrated with it because it wasn't coming off, I ended up breaking the release bearing, so now I've got to order a release bearing. But if you're doing a job like this, just save yourself the time and the hassle and buy an ACT monolock. It just saves so much hassle, and they pretty much come unclipped every single time you put a screwdriver in the bellows in. So now what we've got to do is we've got to do the rectifying maneuver, which is 12mm on an extension through the clutch fork hole and undo the clutch plate from the flywheel, so that when we pull the gearbox off, the clutch plate comes with the gearbox on the input shaft, so that we can then get a screwdriver in behind on the release bearing and pop the clip that way. So without further ado, let's hopefully undo the clutch plate from the flywheel and do it that way. Okay, this is the back of the really annoying clip that we're dealing with. So what we're going to do is try and take it off now. So unfortunately, I had to completely bust the release ring, which is fine because I would just order another release bearing and an ACT monolock. But I finally got the release bearing to release from the clutch plate. So after a lot of effort and a lot of trying, there's the clutch plate off. Now we can take out our rather molested release bearing. So here you can actually see what happens to the actual original Mitsubishi clip. All of these little like pins bend over, and you can't actually get them out very easily. So that's going to go in the bin. So to change the release bearing on a Evo gearbox, I think this is fairly universal for all of them. You take an 8mm bolt out that seats at the top, and then you have to either use an old screwdriver through the top of the release fork pin, like I did, and then tap it out. And then you can take the release fork off, along with the, where have I put them now? The two quite high compression springs that actually give the release fork its spring. And then that means you can remove the release bearing. And then obviously, because this is knackered, well now it is knackered, it's going in the bin. Okay, so that is actually going to wrap up this episode of the 5 build, because I haven't actually got the flywheel off, so you'll probably see me doing that and cleaning the bolt holes out next episode. But I don't actually have a 19mm 12-point half-inch drive socket on me in order to take the current bolts out and then obviously torque them back up. Neither do I have a torque wrench here either, so unfortunately that's going to be next episode and next week's job for me. Nevertheless, thank you so much for watching this episode. If you did enjoy it, please feel free to go and check out the rest of the content we have on our channel. There's a fair bit of it now, and if you really did like this as well, definitely hit the like button and please consider subscribing. All of it helps us out a bunch. Whatever you may be doing, make sure you're doing it safely and you're enjoying it, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. See you later.